Thank you so much. And so first, I want to say thank you to Aria. Aria is relatively new to the sustainability team, and she has been instrumental in helping pull all of this together. So quick round of applause for Aria. Thank you so much. And Nina and Olga are, part of the Sustainable Packaging Coalition, a nonprofit that Walmart is a part of, and they've been instrumental in helping develop this playbook. We all would love to have those kind of resources in our own teams. And hopefully, when you guys go back to your offices and say, hey, what are we going to do in this space? You have Nina and Olga almost on your shoulders, whispering in the playbook lessons in your ear. Avoid greenwashing. No biodegradable additives. Keep those things in the back of your mind. If something sounds too good to be true, it unfortunately probably is. So really refer to the playbook, and if you're talking with folks in marketing and they're like, no, we gotta do this, say, let's first refer to the playbook to make sure that we're thinking through all the possible steps of this. So all that said, there is a compostability section in your recycling playbook. So you go to pages 75, 77, 78, those are some of the key sections. Take a look at it, use that decision tree, find out if composting is really the right solution for you or if it isn't. And then also think about those best practices. And please, 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 do not use biodegradable additives in petroleum-based plastics. So before we go to the next session, a little bit of housekeeping. I have an associate badge, someone lost a badge. If you are that person, come and find me. Thank you. All right, so next, we've got our last morning session. We're gonna end early. I love ending early. So we're gonna have Steve Alexander from the Association of Plastic Recyclers join us and talk through in more detail some of those little itty bitty details that can really impact the recyclability of your packaging. But first, let's start with another video.
When it comes to recycling, not everyone is the same. There's sort through every last piece and end up with only a few he knows for sure are recyclables guy. He throws a lot of things away that could be recycled. There's toss it all in and hope for the best guy. Local sorting facilities love him. Not. And then there's this is all too confusing so I will just throw it all in the landfill guy. He's not helping the problem at all. Ultimately, we need to help educate our customers as to what is recyclable and the easiest way to keep it out of the waste stream. If your package typically goes to a landfill, change your package to one that can be recycled. With all of us working together, we can help people save money and live better.
All right, Steve, come on to the stage. I'd also like to add APR as well as SPC have been instrumental in the playbook, so thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. So Ashley, first of all, thank you to Walmart for the opportunity here and continue to work with them as a key leader and a key driver going forward. I'm a little concerned about my credibility after what happened earlier this morning, but I hope you'll look past that. Zach Fries told me yesterday that I have 5 minutes, but I'm going to try and go a little longer, so we'll see. And you're probably not going to end early. I had 51 slides to try and get through in 30 minutes, and now I have an hour and 5 minutes, so I hope you enjoy this. What I want to do today is try and encapsulate the findings from a 6-part webinar series that Walmart hosted with APR to provide oversight of our Design for Plastics Recycling playbook. And even though there are a volume of slides, I would just encourage you to use this slide deck as an educational resource along with the playbook and other materials that are available to you today. Actually, after looking at the playbook, Ashley, I can probably just sit down now. I mean, I think if you walk through that, it's a tremendous resource, and I think that it's something that we should always have. One of the goals, obviously, of resources such as that, the How to Recycle label and the APR Design Guide for Plastics Recyclability, is to provide you resources so that at the end of the day, plastic recyclers are not determining that packaging is contaminating the recycling stream on our belts at the end of the food chain. What we prefer to do is we want to get the design implications of a package and the implications for that on the recyclability of that package at the top of the food chain. So we'd like your designers and your suppliers to be thinking about when they design a package, or if they're innovating a package, that they're thinking about, what does the Walmart sustainability playbook say about this? How's this going to impact my ability to get the how to recycle label? What does APR say about this? And at the end of the day, how is this going to impact my ability to get my package approved to be on the shelves at Walmart? So let's start going through this journey. The way we're going to do this is we're going to talk in general about the importance of the material that you're using, as well as the collectability and the sortability on a general perspective, and the design implications of packaging in general. And then we're going to walk through examples for PET, high density and polypropylene, as well as finally film and LDPE and some other materials, and then provide you with some resources. So let's start this journey. Please bear with me. I will try and be done in 30 minutes, I promise, okay? 26 minutes and 54 seconds to go. So who is APR? Well, if you've been here in the last few years, you're aware we serve as the voice of the plastics recycling industry. We're the only organization that focuses each and every day on one thing. It's not part of what we do, it's what we do. Every day we look at, okay, what's coming into the stream, what packagings are innovating, how are they impacting the recyclability stream, how can we get more material for recyclers in order to recycle, and how do we provide more material for the end markets? Because as APR says, the definition of recyclable means that there must be a demand market for that material. If there's not a market for the material, what are we doing? We're collecting, sorting, and processing trash. And nobody wants to make a product for what we end up putting in the trash and not having a market for it. So market demand is a key component. So this is what we do as we go through our goals. How we do that, I mentioned the design guide. And we have testing methods. So if you're a supplier and you're thinking about a new innovation or new package in the marketplace and you want to determine whether or not that innovation has an impact on the recyclability, you can use APR testing methods. We also do training programs where we will customize a training program and go into your company, and we will work with you on your packaging so that you understand how it fits in the design guide training program. And the design guide is on the website as well. Please take advantage of that. This is a sampling of our members. And it goes on and on. We have about 200 members that we work on. We are sort of the nexus and the interface with all these other groups. And importantly, with the what is not on here, and I don't know why, the Recycling Partnership, I put the wrong slide on. So we work with all these different groups on designing standards, making sure their packaging their playbooks meet current standards. Our testing protocols are now being shared with Plastics Recycling Europe. And as a matter of fact, as we speak, actually, it's 10:30 at night, we're actually right now meeting with the China Scrap Plastic Association and the Ministry of the Environment in China, where we're talking to them about translating our design guide for plastics recyclability into Chinese and having them accept that and accept our testing standards in China. So if we have China and we have Europe, as well as Latin America, our testing protocols pretty much cover the globe. That just shows how we're connected across the globe. And why are we really here? You know, you just saw a tremendous presentation from Annette and from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. Circularity, the circular economy, newest buzzword that's out there. What are we talking about? We're talking about trying to use material that has been used once and going through the system, going through the recycling infrastructure system, and ultimately being utilized again. That's why we're here, and we want to do more of that as we go forward. So Ashley asked me to sort of posture this presentation. Well, why is my stuff not recyclable? And so for some of you, this is going to be very basic. I apologize, but thank you for understanding this. For some of you, this may be new. It never ceases to amaze us, particularly when we talk to a lot of major suppliers, that the understanding of what happens to the package after it's discarded on its pathway to recyclability is a not well understood process, to put it kindly. So let's walk through this. Number one, why my package may not be recyclable? Well, let's think about the material. The FTC says in order to call your package recyclable, you have to have 60% of the consumers in the United States have to have access to a recycling program. There's only 4 of the plastic materials right now that meet that standard. PET, high-density polypropylene, and PE film. Polyethylene film, that's very important, just polyethylene film. Secondly, can it be processed into, let me go back. Can it be processed using the existing infrastructure? And we're going to talk about sortation and the cleanliness of the stream in a little bit. When we talk about material, remember, just because it's made of a material that has access to the recyclability programs does not necessarily make that package recyclable, because material is not enough. You look at the sleeve label on this yogurt tub, that renders that non-recyclable. We can't see that material going forward. When you see question marks throughout this presentation, it means that material must be tested, and preferably through the APR testing protocols. Can it be sorted properly? Can it be sorted by the existing infrastructure? Because the reality is, if your material can't be sorted, it doesn't matter if it's recyclable, because it's never going to make it to the recycling stream. So sortation is key. Why wouldn't it be sortable? Might be too small. The screens typically go 2 by 2. We're working on that, but it needs to be tested. It might be two-dimensional. A lot of two-dimensional products flow with the paper stream. We're working on that right now. It might be dark. It might be black or near black. And while there's evolving technology around some of these darker colors and black, it's not commerciable yet. And so at this point, that we still render that it needs testing. And by and large, for black, it's pretty much non-recyclable. Also, the label might be a problem. If you've got a label that covers more than 85% of the object, the NIR is not going to be able to see it. So it's not going to be able to sort. We'll go through each of these for the individual. You're going to see this again. But generally speaking, these are some of the issues that you need to be concerned about. Metal can be a huge problem. And they typically will damage the sortation equipment and the blades and what have you. And it will also will impact the material if it does make it through the system. It'll contaminate the material. The second big issue is the design of the product. And can that product be designed in a way that it's processed using the existing infrastructure? And can it be manufactured into identifiable product? So generally speaking, these are design features. I'm not going to go through them all. You'll have it all available. But if your package has any of these design features, it's not going to be recyclable given today's infrastructure. PVC, can't do it. Degradable additives, you heard Nina, we don't want that either. Metallized films and flexible packaging that can't be completely emptied. Now, we're going to walk through, we're going to take those components and we're going to sort through a couple of the resins individually right now. So if I'm going too fast, just let me know, but hopefully we can answer some questions a little bit later on, okay? And we'll have a booth this afternoon at the exhibit, and we'll be happy to answer any questions there. 19 minutes, 36 seconds, okay. So for PET packaging, we love PET packaging, right? It's the most recycled plastic if it's designed correctly. You're going to hear that a lot for the rest of this presentation. These are some of the components it has. And again, these are the types of materials that can be recycled. The green, the yellow means you need to check, it needs to be tested, and the X obviously means no can do at this particular juncture. Again, design features that render PET non-recyclable. Fairly similar with a couple of changes. PVC and degradable, you're going to see that across the board, right? If something's degradable, it's not recyclable. If something's compostable, it's not recyclable. PETG is a huge contaminant for PET recycling. It's difficult to remove. It's not compatible with PET. It's got a low melting point, turns PET into a bunch of goo, like you're putting glue in a plastic bag in your dryer with your favorite blazer, which has been done. And then foam PET, because foam PET floats rather than sinks. The general principle here we're talking about in the general recycling principle is a float-sink process. You want the PET to float, you want your other materials, to sink, and you want your other materials to flow through. foam PET floats, it contaminates the rest of the stream. You see a lot of this type of packaging. The plastic windows actually contaminate the paper stream, and it doesn't go into the PET recycling stream. So if you're thinking that you're putting a window on a package and you're making it a plastic package, you're not. You're making it a paper material, and it's not recyclable. PETG shrink labels, they're very difficult to identify. They look the same. They're very tough to remove. If you can't take the label off, it goes through the system. The label components stay with the flake or as you go through it, and it contaminates the stream. It causes yellowing and things of that nature. Tough to process. We have solutions. When you go on the APR website, they're right there. APR recognized labels, including commercially available shrink sleeve label technologies. And for your discussion pleasure this afternoon in the speed networking portion of the program today, we will have some film and label manufacturers who are APR members who have passed the APR protocols, testing protocols. They have commercially available material, and they will be in the exhibition this afternoon. So you're more than happy to sit and chat with them and talk to them about how they can supply you. You can't have a supplier tell you, well, I can't get the material. There are no solutions in the marketplace. That is a fabrication, okay? If you're a Walmart buyer, you're talking to your supplier, there are solutions out there. Now, if your supplier doesn't want to do that, that's the conversation between the two of you. But there are solutions in the marketplace. Same with pressure-sensitive labels. Very difficult to remove the adhesives on those. Some inks can discolor the PET. Again, there are commercially available adhesives that go through the process. Take a look at them. They're also in our design guide, and they're on our website. Barrier labels, same thing. They stay adhered to the PET in the system. They cause some discoloration. Again, there are innovations available. I guess that's one of the biggest components I want to present to you today is there are solutions in the marketplace. I know sometimes there's a little bit of aversion to changing technology or changing the manufacturing process or concerns about changing suppliers because we've had the same relationship for 28 years. But there are solutions. It depends on how much a priority you're placing on meeting your metrics and your sustainability goals. Same thing, exclusion molded PETG, and there is commercially available APR recognized expanded PET in the marketplace rather than using PETG. The easiest way to look at this is if you can address these issues for PET recycling, you're probably dealing with about 85% of the contamination issues. Ashley's always on me to make this as straightforward and consistent and yes, no as we possibly can, which is a challenge in this technologically important and difficult arena of plastics recycling. But if you want to focus on something, you want to look at this slide as we go forward, and that'll deal with a lot of the issues that are out there already. We'd be very happy if all the packaging just dealt with these 5 issues. Again, here's just an example of the slide of some of the folks that are going to be here today and have solutions for you in the marketplace. And they're all on our website. So let's move now to high density and polypropylene packaging. It's pretty much the same presentation as we've had up till now. Again, love this material. Think about it. It's very widely recycled. It actually has a very high recycling rate. It actually meets the EMF 30% goal for recyclability. It's very strong, it's lightweight, it's versatile, great moisture barrier, not as big as an issue with labels. But again, you can see the ones that we love, you see the ones we have some questions about, and then obviously the some that simply are not recyclable at this particular junction. The processing for recycling either high density or polypropylene containers is very similar. It's very different from PET, but they're very similar as you go through the stream. So what are some of the design features that make high density polypropylene non-recyclable? A lot of fillers. A lot of times suppliers will use a filler, a calcium carbonate, some additive or something like that to replace the resin in it. Too many fillers causes the high density polypropylene to sink. We don't want it to sink. We want it to float. Again, degradable additives, and you've heard this before. If you get one thing out of here today, no PVC. Again, fillers, as we talked about, the flotation, most fillers are very heavy. We're always asked, well, what percentage of calcium carbonate can you take in a high-density container? There's no standard answer. It really depends on the application, the color, how you're going to use it. It can be as low as 2%, might be as high as 10%. So you have to test and question us as we go through the process. We have answers, but I can't tell you today. You need to tell your supplier, okay, no more than 6% calcium carbonate and we'll be fine. That's not how this works. Most common issues affecting yield. If you put a polypropylene cap on a high-density container, paper labels and barrier labels, those are types of things that cause us some anxiety and some heartburn. Again, paper labels are very difficult to remove. So you want to think about using, some PET labels, and again, look at adhesives and labels that wash off during the system. Again, they're on our system. Same thing with barrier labels, similar to what we did with PET. And then this is again a quick snapshot. If you want to know what you're going to be doing with high-density polypropylene package design, if you go by this, you pretty much got a lot of it covered. And as we get into an evolving area, because you're seeing more and more film, flexible material in the marketplace, we're seeing a lot of evolution, innovation in this arena. Certainly, some of this can be recycled if it's designed properly and if it's collected properly. And here's the big difference with film and flexibles. Film and flexibles don't go to a MRF. If it's collected, it goes right to the recycler. If it goes to a MRF, it's going to gum up their system. As you can see, going by the augers here, how it wraps it all up. It tends to shut down the lines for the MRFs about 3 times every 8 hours. They don't want this material. There's a lot of work being done on trying to make film and flexible materials available in curbside. That is in the experimental stages, if that's a word, experimental stages. 11 minutes. And so, there are take-back programs that are good. Walmart has take-back programs. There's a great demand for this material. It's really an unmet demand, as there are actually for PET, high-density polypropylene. We can talk about that in a minute. But this is very important just to understand that when you collect this material, it's going to go right to the recycler. And we love to recycle it if it's clean, if it's separate, but it can't be commingled with other material. What's also important, as I mentioned this earlier on, only flexible polyethylene is recyclable. Not high density, not low density, not linear low, etc. It's got to be flexible polyethylene, and only floating polyethylene is recyclable because it does float, it doesn't sink. So we need to be very careful about that. We have test methods for that. Again, metallized film and bags, they're simply not recyclable. They don't pass through the metal separation as we are now, and we're seeing a lot more of those. Degradable additives, never, ever going forward. So we're seeing a lot of stand-up pouches. Now I've got this, another slide I took out that tells you everything that you don't want to do about stand-up pouches and how bad they are. One MRF guy told me that stand-up pouches are the worst package that's ever been developed. So from a recycling standpoint, if it's complete polyethylene, nothing else, it's got no labels, it's got no metal in it, it's got no other additives in it. If it is a polyethylene, floatable polyethylene pouch, that's something that we're going to be able to handle if it's collected properly. Okay, and so I know that there's a lot of material that is sold. I think at Walmart, I think there's a granola package that's sold in a pouch, whatever. They are polyethylene and floatable polyethylene. Those are recyclable. The problem you have in a situation like this, and with most other containers, is you have lookalikes in the marketplace. And when you have lookalikes in the marketplace, they end up contaminating the stream, because one of the biggest problems we have is confusing the consumer. But that's something that hopefully we work on. That's hopefully the label program works on that, et cetera, because we need to try and make this as consistent across the board as we can. And great idea on the education in the stores. That's a super idea. So one of the issues that we have when we talk about the circular economy, and everybody wants to get to the circular economy, and the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. Ellen MacArthur Foundation, one of the issues we discussed yesterday is right now, their definition, it means it goes back into the original product. Well, that's not how recycling works in this country. I mean, a lot of PET, you can say the majority of PET goes into carpeting, fiber, strapping, sheet, in addition to bottles and other containers. A lot of high density, actually almost 50% of high density goes into pipe and things of that nature. So, we have to talk about participating in the circular economy, participating with Ellen MacArthur with materials that are, we call it upcycled, because you're keeping it out of the system for 20 years or so. We don't like that other term that flips it, points it the other way, because point in fact, we believe that if you're keeping a material out of the landfill and out of the stream for 10, 15, 20 years, you're actually upcycling that material, and then you can recycle it again. So how do we get here? We have all our test methods are on the website. That's where you can find them on our homepage. You have tremendous amount of resources available to you. There is no reason in this day and age for a supplier or a converter to be putting out a package or a container that is not recyclable. That's simply an excuse, unless they intentionally want to do so. Because the resources that are available will walk you through this step by step, almost in a linear process. So I like to tell the people here at Walmart that absent government regulation, you really are the regulator in the marketplace. And I know they take that very seriously, and the fact that you're all here today also indicates how seriously you take this as well. So their playbook is a resource, the design guide is a resource, the how to recycle label is a resource. It's all here for you. We have also, if you're looking for suppliers, you go through our website and you look at recipients. So you can find who has passed all the APR tests, who can provide you the necessary components that are recyclable in the marketplace. We list who our design guide recipients are. You'll see they're up there for polymer brands, additives, labels, adhesives, direct printed labels, etc. It's all right there. It's right on the website. Again, there's no excuse. So what you really want to do is you want to make sure, number one, you're going to consider a material that has adequate consumer access. And again, can it be recycled by 60%? Do 60% of the population of the United States have access to a recycling program? Now, there's another component to that guideline which people don't pay attention to, and it's right now being determined in the judiciary. You also have to make sure that there's a market for that material in the market you serve. So just remember that. We just don't use 60% anymore. Think about whether or not that material is actually being able to be collected in that market that you serve, because that's something to take a look at. You want to leverage the playbook. Again, for PET, you want to avoid the 5 for focus. We don't call them the fabulous 5. We call them the 5 for focus. And then you want to use the how to recycle label for consumer messaging. And that's critically important. Now understand, the FTC has promulgated the green guides back in 2011. Under federal guidelines, they have to repromulgate them every 10 years. So for the next 18 months or so, they're going to be looking at the green guides and the labeling requirements to ensure that they meet the needs of the current marketplace. And they will promulgate another final rule in 2022. So this is a very important time for labeling and what we can put on our products as we go forward. They're certainly interested in working with ourselves and with other groups here to ensure that they meet the needs of the marketplace going forward. Because absent other regulation, that is essentially the regulatory process and the regulatory guidepost here for labeling in this country. So this afternoon, for those of you who are going over to the record, there will be suppliers. There will be recyclers of the varying commodities and label and film suppliers there this afternoon as well. There's going to be a lot of people coming in. So we're going to ask you to come to the APR booth. And when you come to the APR booth, for us to direct you to the most appropriate contact, I'm going to be asking you, do you know the resin type you want? Do you know the application you want? Where are you located? So that, maybe we can align somebody closer to you. What type of volume do you think you need? And then we will walk you through the process about how to do that. I would encourage you to look, particularly if you're contemplating using recycled content, to review the last webinar that was held last week on October 31st. It was the last of the 6 in the series of webinars that Walmart hosted with APR and the Design Guide, because it walks you through the process of what you should be doing internally if you're contemplating using PCR or expanding your use of PCR. It's almost a linear guide. These are the steps you should take. Now, for some of you, this is like, well, I do that every day. We're not talking to you, okay? We're talking to people who haven't done this before. And again, we are also available at any time. We're a phone call away. Just give us a call, and we're more than happy to chat with you. I want to leave you with 3 words as we go forward. When you talk about designing for recyclability, companies need to understand 3 things. Innovate. Just you do the innovation. That doesn't mean it's recyclable. Standardize across the industry. Then it's recyclable. If you have your innovation and your innovation isn't standardized across the value chain, you know, if you've got a product out there that you've got a great innovation on, but you are one product, one SKU in the marketplace, you're not going to be able to call that recyclable until at least 70% of the market is utilizing that in the marketplace, and that SKU in the marketplace. So innovate, standardize, then recyclable. And remember, it's not single use if it's recycled. Thank you very much. Happy to answer any questions. 1 minute, 36 seconds.